Hello, good afternoon. Michael Wynn, Chief Digital Officer of Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. Thanks for joining in today, guys, on the Digital Marketing Podcast and video, where we talk about digital marketing strategies to help grow your business. Speaking of growing your business, I can't think of a better topic to talk about today than to talk about marketing return on investment, discovering the profit formula behind the LTV and CAC ratio. Now, some of you who maybe are tuning into the marketing podcast video for the first time might be asking yourself, Michael, what the heck is LTV and CAC? I have never heard those terms before in my life. Well, you probably have. You just probably haven't really put an acronym or an initial to represent them. So really LTV is what is the value, what is the lifetime value of a customer to your business? What do they represent in terms of revenue over the lifetime that they are your customer? Now, the second one, the CAC, C-A-C, is the customer acquisition cost. What does it cost you to actually acquire a new customer? Now, these two terms, and maybe the reason why your business, or as an owner or as a business developer, you've not really, thought about these, is maybe your business doesn't have a subscription model. Or maybe you don't really think in terms of repeat business. Maybe it's not necessarily something that you have. But whether you are in the modern world where we've got SaaS products, meaning software as a service, or if you've got a subscription model, or you're an e-commerce company. The fact of the matter is you probably do have some repeat and or referral value that you should assign to each customer. Now, your lifetime, if you will, may have a defined period. It doesn't literally mean over the next 80 years, what is that customer worth? So you do have to establish what is the lifetime period for your particular business in order to really kind of calculate revenue that is gained from that particular customer or client. Now, if we really break down the LTV or the lifetime value of a customer, I think it's important that we look at what are some of the key indicators or key performance indicators that you're going to find when it comes to measuring or determining what that is. So it's important to think of, okay, if I've got a certain number of customers, especially in a subscription type model, what is my retention cost? Meaning I know I'm going to lose some subscribers over a certain amount of time, so I need to calculate what that loss is. I also need to calculate customer satisfaction, if that's kind of a part of it. I think also an indicator for that is loyalty. That's obviously indicated by repeat business. I think trust is an indicator, and I think that can be equated through a brand ambassador or brand advocate, someone who is a referral. All of these four kind of areas really help you to measure these areas. Again, retention and loss of business, customer satisfaction, meaning they're going to put up good comments and reviews, and then loyalty, obviously repeat business, and then lastly trust, being a brand advocate or brand ambassador. So I think once you've got that, you can really look at this measurement and come up with, okay, once I factor in all of these things, and I determine, okay, over the next year and a half or 24 months or whatever you determine is, quote, your lifetime cycle, you come up with a value. So that's step one, is calculate that value. So then when we break down the CAC, or the customer acquisition cost, what we're really looking at here is, what is the amount that you've spent to acquire that customer, right? What are your marketing and advertising and public relations total costs? Now, what's interesting though is often what's not calculated in that cost is also, there's one other component I think there, which is if you have a business development person or staff or sales rep, you need to have that calculation also. If they have a salary or a commission, you need to factor that in as well. So those are the components of the expenses that you have with regards to the actual cost for acquiring that new customer. Now, again, this all goes back to, we're trying to figure out the profit formula to really be able to measure your marketing, and really we're trying to get down to what is that return on investment. So, for example, if you determine that, let's say, the lifetime LTV, the lifetime customer value is, let's say, $30,000, and let's say that you spend $60,000 in marketing, and you determine that that life cycle 30 grand is a value for 1 year, and you spend $60,000 to acquire, and let's say you get 6 new clients in 1 year, then that means your customer acquisition cost, if you spent 60, got 6, then your cost there is $10,000. So if we divide $30,000 by $10,000, we're going to get a ratio of 3 to 1, or a number that represents 3. So, the rules of the game basically says 1 to 1 is not really what you want to build a business on, because you're basically a wash, which means you got to have some incredible efficient operational cost to be able to actually have profit. Obviously, anything less than 1, if a positive value of 1 or greater, you're doing good. But ideally, you want to be in that 3 to 1. That is the rule of thumb. Now, what I think is really interesting when we start looking at LTV and CAC, especially over a timeline, where is the value of branding? If awareness has got to be some part of the equation, right? Because you can't just have sales message out there. That's not effective. So branding is absolutely important. Now, what I think is interesting is that when we go back to looking at the cost acquisition calculation, or whatever your CAC, your customer acquisition cost is, one of the big things right now in digital marketing is really trying to pinpoint attribution. And it's so difficult because, someone could have seen a retargeting ad, when they were on, weather.com, and at that time, maybe they just got paid, or maybe they just came to that decision, and it was that last point of acquisition that they actually came through, clicked on, picked up the phone, or filled out the form, put in their credit card, whatever your transactional trigger actually is, and you saw that. But how many times had they seen or interacted with content? Maybe they saw something on Instagram, and then followed that up with an email because they subscribed to your newsletter, like all the different points, and so when you start looking at that, where you're doing an effective job in all your different marketing verticals, But the good news is yes, we do have some really enhanced capabilities, when it comes to specific pixel measurements, that we can kind of get a clearer picture of, kind of what this looks like. But what I think is really interesting is for those who, have really been, tied to, the LTV CAC ratio is, really understanding, especially when you start to sort of lay that over the top of a marketing funnel, and you think about as people kind of move through awareness, consideration, into conversion. And what's often forgotten about, especially if you go back and listen to the series that we did about perfecting your marketing funnel a few weeks ago, is the two pieces of the funnel that are often left off are loyalty and brand advocate or brand ambassador, right? Because you're not really calculating return on investment when those lifetime customers become referral agents for you, and really start to impact, because what they're doing out there is really outward marketing, right? But they're acting on your behalf. And I think that is another factor that with viral on social web right now is such an X factor, because I can really go out and I may spend $5,000 a month in Facebook and Instagram ads and stories, but the number, the viral component of when people share and comment, I'm getting a great return on investment, because that viral spread, that amplification, if you will, that it's almost like a digital word of mouth effect, that's happening, is sort of a hidden amplifier that reduces my overall customer acquisition cost, because I'm gaining more attention at a lower overall cost. So, I think that's what's really important when we are really trying to discover the profit formula behind LTV and CAC, and we're looking at digital marketing return on investment. We need to understand that as we go through each one of the stages of the customer life cycle journey or funnel, if you want to call it that, that those last two stages are really important. And it goes back to the lifetime value statement. Remember, we talked about customer satisfaction, loyalty, and trust. And those are really important pieces of branding that are a critical part right now in digital marketing. So for your business, the most important thing for you to do is to sit down and try to assign a value to what is the lifetime value of a customer to me, to your organization. And then sort of reverse engineer and say, okay, last year I spent X amount of dollars and we got new customers. And I'm surprised often when I meet attorneys or realtors or people whose customers are worth great value and they're spending nothing on marketing. And I'm like, wow, are you just absolutely kind of going by osmosis that your business is going to grow based on economic conditions and market availability? You've got to really be able to put together this ratio so that you can say, okay, I know that a customer is worth this, and then figure out, okay, I can invest this much to grow my business. And then be able to measure each one of these things. So have a CRM system set in place, have a report card set in place. If you go back and listen to our series on traction, how to grow your business, how to get a grip on your business before it gets a grip on you, highly recommend that series as well. It's very insightful. It's one of the highest, most downloaded shows that we have is the Traction series. So those are my tips for today, guys. That is how you can discover the profit formula behind LTV and the CAC ratio. Again, I hope you found great value in this episode. My name is Michael Wynn. I'm the Chief Digital Officer of Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. Have a great week, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Don't forget, tomorrow we have a guest from Upgrow, digital marketing agency based in California, joining us from the West Coast. So I hope you'll tune in tomorrow. Looking forward to that episode. Have a great day.